My child, listen slowly, because what I am about to explain is not meant to frighten you, and it is not meant to shame anyone. It is meant to open your eyes. A woman close to you is standing still right now, not because she is weak, not because she is dramatic, but because her inner world has collapsed in a single moment. Her breath feels heavy. Her hands feel numb. Her thoughts are racing faster than her heart can handle. She has just received news that exposed a truth she spent a long time running from. And no, my child, the danger here is not only about a diagnosis. The danger is about deception, secrecy, and the ripple effect of hidden choices. You see, when truth arrives suddenly, it doesn't knock gently. It breaks the door open. And this woman did not prepare for that knock. She lived her days smiling, managing routines, speaking kindly, appearing faithful, appearing stable. From the outside, no one suspected the storm she was carrying quietly inside. Not her family. Not her friends. Not even the ones closest to her heart. But hidden paths always leave footprints, even when we pretend they don't. Before that phone call came, she believed she still had time. Time to fix things. Time to hide things. Time to keep separate lives from colliding. But truth does not wait for permission. When it comes complete, heavy, and unavoidable. And in that moment, as she stood frozen, the first fear that pierced her heart was not about herself. It was about who else might now be affected by what she tried to keep secret. This is where I need you to listen carefully. Because many people think consequences only belong to the one who makes the choice. But that is not how life works. Choices travel. Secrets move. Hidden actions echo outward, touching lives that never agreed to be part of the story. And that is why this message is not about judgment. It is about awareness. This woman is someone you know. Not a stranger. Not a distant name. Someone whose presence has been familiar. Someone whose face has felt safe. Someone whose voice never raised suspicion. That is why this feels unsettling. Because betrayal is always most dangerous when it comes wrapped in familiarity. When she heard the words spoken to her, her thoughts did not stay in the present. They rushed backward. To moments she justified. To decisions she explained away. To doors she opened while telling herself they didn't matter. And then her mind rushed forward, imagining what would happen if the truth reached the wrong ears, at the wrong time, in the wrong way. There is a reason fear grows strongest in silence. Silence gives it space. The man she thought of first was not the one she shared a home with. That realization alone should tell you something important. When someone's first fear is exposure instead of honesty, it means something has already broken long before the truth arrived. The connection she hid was not random. It was not careless curiosity. It was not a single mistake. It was familiarity crossed into forbidden territory. It was trust slowly bent until it became betrayal. And the most painful part of betrayal is not the act itself, but who it involves. Because the man she crossed lines with was not a stranger to the family. He was welcomed. Trusted. Spoke kindly. Sat comfortably. Laughed easily. He knew the home. He knew the rhythms. He knew the person whose life he was quietly betraying. And this is where the weight of the message settles in. The husband. The one living unaware. The one believing in loyalty. The one trusting both sides without question. He is not distant from you. His life intersects with yours more than you realize. His pain is not theoretical. It is approaching reality. And when truth reaches him, it will not come gently. But hear me clearly now, my child. This message is not here to trap you in fear or suspicion. It is here to teach you discernment. You are not responsible for uncovering secrets that are not yours to carry. But you are responsible for protecting your peace once truth reveals itself. Not every broken bond is meant to be repaired. Not every apology deserves access. Not every connection deserves continuation. There comes a moment when wisdom says, step back. You can love people from a distance. You can forgive without reopening doors. You can wish healing without staying in harm's reach. And choosing yourself does not make you cruel. It makes you conscious. I want you to understand something deeply. When someone shows you who they are through repeated choices, believe them. Not their words. Not their tears. Not their explanations. Patterns speak louder than promises. You were not created to carry chaos that isn't yours. You were not meant to fix what you did not break. And you were never meant to sacrifice your peace just to keep familiar faces comfortable. Let me say this gently. Sometimes separation is protection. Sometimes distance is mercy. Sometimes walking away is not rejection, but obedience to your own healing. There are people who lose access to you not because you stopped loving, but because they stopped respecting. And that is not failure. That is growth. Something is shifting in your life right now. You may not fully see it yet, but you can feel it. Old connections are loosening. Old patterns are breaking. Old confusion is clearing. This is not loss. This is alignment. I have not forgotten your prayers. I have not ignored your tears. I have not delayed your blessings without purpose. What felt like waiting was preparation. What felt like silence was protection. What felt like rejection was redirection. Do not look back at what is being removed. Look forward to what is being prepared. You are stepping into a season where clarity replaces confusion, where peace replaces chaos, where sincerity replaces manipulation. The people meant to walk with you next will not make you question your worth. They will not confuse your spirit. They will not drain your joy. Protect your energy. Choose honesty over comfort. Choose peace over history. Choose healing over familiarity. You are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to choose better. And as this story unfolds around you, remember this truth above all others. You were not meant to be harmed by what you observe. You were meant to learn, to rise, and to walk forward wiser than before. Stay grounded. Stay kind. Stay discerning. And if you are ready, say yes in your heart, because what comes next is restoration, clarity, and a life that feels lighter than the one you are leaving behind. My beloved child, take a slow breath and stay with me, because the deeper truth is not meant to rush you. What is unfolding now is not just about one woman, one betrayal, or one secret finally exposed. It is about a pattern you were never meant to carry forward into your future. You were allowed to see this not to involve yourself, but to awaken your discernment. Some lessons are not lived directly, they are observed so the soul can choose differently. As the truth continues to surface, understand this clearly: when deception lives in a place for too long, it begins to poison everything around it. Words lose sincerity. Smiles lose meaning. Relationships begin to feel heavy for no visible reason. You may have sensed this already, that subtle discomfort when certain people were around, that quiet unease you could never fully explain. That was not imagination. That was intuition speaking before facts arrived. The woman at the center of this storm believed she could keep her worlds separate. Many people believe that. They convince themselves that what no one knows cannot hurt anyone. But silence does not erase consequence. It only delays it. And delayed consequences often arrive heavier, louder, and more destructive than immediate honesty ever would have been. You see, the heart was never designed to hold lies long term. Lies rot from the inside. They distort judgment. They dull empathy. They create entitlement where humility should live. Over time, the person lying begins to believe their own excuses. And that is when damage spreads beyond intention. The man she involved was not innocent either. Shared guilt does not lessen responsibility. Betraying trust together does not make it smaller, it makes it deeper. When two people bond over secrecy, that bond is not love. It is mutual avoidance of truth. And such connections always collapse eventually, because they are built on fear, not foundation. Now listen carefully, my child, because this part matters most for you. You are not meant to play rescuer in stories that are not yours. You are not meant to become the listener for confessions that drain your spirit. And you are not meant to carry emotional weight that belongs to people who refuse to carry their own truth earlier. There is a difference between compassion and self-abandonment. Compassion sees clearly. Self-abandonment sacrifices clarity to keep peace. You are not called to do the second. If people begin to pull you into their chaos, if they begin to justify themselves through you, if they begin to look to you for comfort while avoiding accountability, step back. That is not cruelty. That is wisdom. I want you to understand something powerful right now. Not everyone who loses access to your life is being punished. Some are simply reaching the end of the role they were meant to play. Every season has an expiration date. Holding on past that date does not preserve the connection. It decays it. You are entering a phase where your boundaries will matter more than your explanations. You do not owe clarity to those who consistently chose confusion. You do not owe access to those who violated trust, even indirectly. And you do not owe loyalty to patterns that were never loyal to you. Let this story teach you without trapping you. Observe, learn, release. What feels heavy now will feel lighter soon, because separation always feels like loss before it feels like relief. But relief is coming. The quiet kind. The kind where your nervous system finally rests. The kind where you stop replaying conversations. The kind where your heart no longer braces for disappointment. This is also the moment where I remind you gently, do not harden your heart. Protect it, yes. But do not close it. Wisdom does not mean bitterness. Strength does not mean isolation. It means choosing slower trust, deeper honesty, and clearer standards. You are allowed to expect consistency. You are allowed to expect respect. You are allowed to expect integrity. Anyone who cannot meet you there is not aligned with where you are going. Something better is being prepared for you. Not louder. Not more dramatic. But more real. More stable. More peaceful. The kind of connection that does not require secrecy to survive. The kind of love that does not ask you to shrink your values to belong. As this chapter around you concludes, you may feel moments of sadness, confusion, even anger. Let them pass through without building a home in you. Emotions are visitors, not landlords. Feel them, acknowledge them, then let them leave. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not missing anything meant for you. Everything that is falling away is clearing space. Soon, you will look back and realize this revelation saved you from repeating a pattern that was never yours to inherit. You were spared, not deprived. Protected, not punished. So walk forward with your head clear and your heart guarded with wisdom, not fear. You are moving into a season where truth feels natural, peace feels normal, and love feels safe. My child, remain steady with me, because what unfolds now is not about shock anymore, it is about understanding. Once the noise of revelation settles, there is always a quiet moment where the soul must decide what it will carry forward and what it will finally lay down. This is that moment for you. You were never meant to internalize the pain of others, especially pain created by choices they refused to face honestly. Awareness was given to you so you could step differently, not so you could suffer silently. You may notice that after hearing truths like these, your spirit becomes more selective. Conversations feel different. Certain laughter feels hollow. Certain apologies feel rushed. This is not you becoming cold. This is you becoming clear. Clarity often feels lonely at first because it separates illusion from reality. But clarity is also what keeps you safe. Let me tell you something gently. When trust is broken in secret, it rarely breaks loudly. It fractures quietly, piece by piece, until suddenly everything collapses at once. That is why people around deception often feel tired without knowing why. Drained without explanation. Heavy without reason. Energy reacts to truth long before the mind accepts it. You may feel tempted to confront, to fix, to ask questions, to dig deeper. Pause. Not every truth requires your involvement. Not every broken situation is assigned to your hands. Sometimes your role is simply to witness, learn, and walk away wiser. There is power in restraint. There is strength in silence. There is wisdom in choosing not to react immediately. Let others face the consequences of what they created. You do not need to carry their burden to prove your goodness. This season is teaching you something important about boundaries. Boundaries are not walls built out of anger. They are doors placed intentionally, opened only for those who respect what is inside. Anyone who makes you feel guilty for setting boundaries is revealing that they benefited from you having none. You are allowed to change how accessible you are. You are allowed to step back without explaining everything. You are allowed to choose peace even when others choose chaos. There will be moments when memories try to pull you backward. Familiar voices. Shared history. Old emotional habits. Do not confuse familiarity with safety. Familiar pain is still pain. Growth requires you to walk forward even when your past calls your name. I know you have a heart that gives deeply. That loves sincerely. That forgives easily. Those are beautiful qualities, but even beautiful things must be protected. Love without discernment becomes self-destruction. Forgiveness without boundaries becomes permission. And kindness without wisdom becomes exhaustion. You were not created to be endlessly available to people who only show up when they need something. You were created for mutual respect, mutual effort, mutual care. Anything less is imbalance, and imbalance always leads to harm. As you move through this transition, your inner voice will grow stronger. You will notice it guiding you away from situations that once felt normal but now feel wrong. Trust that voice. It is not fear. It is alignment. You are stepping into a phase where your time becomes valuable again. Where your emotional energy stops leaking. Where your heart no longer has to recover from the same wounds repeatedly. This is not coincidence. This is the reward of choosing awareness over denial. Do not rush the healing. Healing is not dramatic. It is quiet. It looks like sleeping better. Laughing genuinely. Thinking less about people who once occupied your mind constantly. Feeling neutral where you once felt anxious. That neutrality is freedom. Let me remind you of something essential. You are not defined by who betrayed whom around you. You are defined by how you choose to respond when truth is revealed. Will you become bitter, or will you become better? Will you repeat cycles, or will you end them? Will you shrink, or will you rise? I see you choosing wisely. The next connections entering your life will feel different. There will be less intensity and more stability. Less confusion and more clarity. Less guessing and more consistency. You will not have to read between lines or search for hidden meanings. What is meant for you will speak clearly. Until then, honor this season of separation. It is not punishment. It is preparation. Space is being created for something healthier, something honest, something lasting. You are learning to value yourself not by how much you endure, but by how well you protect your peace. That lesson will serve you for the rest of your life. Stay grounded. Stay observant. Stay true to what your spirit recognizes. My beloved child, stay present, because now the story shifts from understanding into release. There comes a point where knowing the truth is no longer the hardest part. The hardest part becomes deciding what you will no longer carry. Awareness without release becomes weight. But you were not meant to walk forward burdened. You may feel something loosening inside you already. A quiet detachment. A soft distance growing where emotional urgency once lived. That is not numbness. That is healing beginning to take shape. Healing often feels unfamiliar at first because chaos becomes familiar when it stays too long. Peace can feel strange when you haven't lived in it for a while. Let me speak clearly into your heart now. You are not responsible for keeping broken systems functioning. You are not required to maintain connections that damage your spirit just because they once felt meaningful. And you are not obligated to explain your growth to people who benefited from you staying the same. Some people will not understand your distance. Some will label it cold. Some will say you changed. Let them. Growth always looks like loss to those who cannot come with you. You are learning something sacred right now. That love does not mean tolerating harm. That loyalty does not mean silence in the face of wrongdoing. And that forgiveness does not mean continued access. These truths will reshape how you move through relationships from this point forward. I know your heart wants resolution. Closure. Clean endings. But not every chapter ends with conversation. Some end with clarity. And clarity is enough. You may never hear full confessions. You may never receive proper apologies. You may never see accountability the way you think it should appear. That does not mean justice is absent. It means it is not yours to administer. Your task is simpler and more powerful. Walk away lighter. As you release this story, notice how your focus begins to return to yourself. Your energy comes back. Your thoughts become quieter. Your emotions become steadier. This is what happens when you stop pouring into situations that cannot hold what you give. Let me remind you of who you are becoming. You are becoming someone who listens more to intuition than impulse. Someone who chooses peace over drama. Someone who values consistency over intensity. Someone who no longer confuses chaos with connection. This version of you will attract different experiences. Healthier ones. Relationships where honesty is natural, not forced. Where trust does not require constant reassurance. where love does not come with anxiety attached. And yes, there may be moments when loneliness whispers to you, trying to convince you to return to familiar pain. Do not listen. Loneliness passes. Self-betrayal leaves scars. You are not alone. You are simply between versions of your life. The old is falling away. The new is forming quietly. In this in-between space, choose patience. Choose self-respect. Choose to sit with yourself until comfort returns. I want you to hear this deeply. You did nothing wrong by loving. You did nothing foolish by trusting. Your only responsibility now is to love and trust yourself enough not to repeat what hurt you. This chapter is ending not with chaos, but with wisdom. Not with noise, but with strength. Not with loss, but with elevation. Soon, very soon, you will look back and realize that this moment was not about betrayal at all. It was about awakening. About learning what you will and will not accept. About understanding your worth without needing validation from broken systems. Carry this lesson gently, not heavily. Let it make you wiser, not colder. Softer in the right places. Stronger where it matters. You are stepping into a calmer life. A clearer life. A truer life. And this time, what finds you will be aligned with who you have become. Stay open. Stay grounded. Stay true. My precious child, this is where the weight finally lifts. This is where the story no longer belongs to the past, but becomes a bridge into what is ahead. You have listened. You have understood. You have released. Now receive. What you are stepping into is not loud, not rushed, not chaotic. It is steady. It is grounded. It is safe. The kind of peace that does not need explanation. The kind of joy that does not come with fear attached. The kind of life where you no longer brace yourself for disappointment. I want you to know this with certainty. Nothing that was revealed was meant to break you. It was meant to protect you. You were spared from deeper entanglement. You were redirected before damage could touch your core. You were shown truth early enough to choose differently. That is grace. You are not walking away empty-handed. You are walking away wiser, clearer, and stronger than before. You now recognize patterns sooner. You feel misalignment faster. You trust your inner knowing more deeply. These are not small things. These are gifts. From this moment forward, your life begins to simplify. Not because everything disappears, but because what does not belong no longer clings to you. Your mind will feel quieter. Your heart will feel lighter. Your spirit will feel more at home within itself. You will notice that you no longer chase explanations. You no longer wait for apologies. You no longer need validation from people who could not meet you with honesty. That freedom is priceless. I am guiding you toward relationships that are built on openness, not secrecy. On consistency, not confusion. On mutual respect, not emotional imbalance. You will not have to prove your worth. You will be recognized naturally. Do not rush this next chapter. Let it unfold in its own rhythm. Healing does not need force. Growth does not need performance. You are already enough as you are becoming. Let kindness remain in you, but let wisdom lead. Let forgiveness live in your heart, but let boundaries guard your life. Let love flow freely, but only where it is received with care. You are allowed to be selective. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to choose yourself without guilt. The season of emotional exhaustion is ending. The season of clarity is here. The season of peace is beginning. And as you move forward, remember this truth above all others. You were never meant to survive chaos forever. You were meant to rise beyond it. Walk gently. Stand firmly. Live honestly. Your future is not built on what you lost, but on what you learned. And now, my child, go forward lighter than you arrived, knowing that what lies ahead is healthier, truer, and aligned with the person you are becoming. This chapter is complete.